Hi, it's another beautiful day here in Rogue River, and I did a little adventure. I drove by some winery varietals or wine plantings going to Rogue River, and then I stopped by the Mexican restaurant. I give you a tour of that so you know what we are up to regarding Mexican food here. It's very good actually. And stopped by a convenience store, and then went across the bridge to go grocery shopping. So I took you with me, and we looked around the pharmacy, which is like Woolworths almost, or used to be, which is really nice. They have everything from soup to nuts, except no nuts and no soup. And then went back over the bridge and stopped by the Fleming Park. So that's what you're going to see in this video. Enjoy, and I'll see you at the back end. So I drove west on Highway 99 towards Rogue River. On the left were a bunch of wine stands or a winery. Lots of wine is growing here. On the right is the Rogue River, and we are going into the town, passing by a couple nice little houses. You can see everything is clean and neat, and going to the Mexican restaurant. I went inside to film it, and they have a little bar there, and they have really good food. We ate there. It's a very nice waiter. He was really proud to show off all the meals he was about to serve. It's nicely decorated. They also have a bar, and there is on the wall, you see here, is love locks. You can get a lock, put your initials in for you and your loved one, and then put the lock there and throw away the key. And then you are locked together forever. So that is a Mexican restaurant. And that's at the exit. And outside they have some prayer flags. I guess they were praying for beer. It says Modelo all over the place, which is a Mexican beer. It's quite stout. So they are open just about every day, which is nice, and they're straight across from the bridge where it goes downtown Rogue River. And this is Rogue River Press. They have a very impressive building there. It looks like an old southern mansion. So I'm always fascinated by southern mansions. So I took a closer look, and it looks really quite nice. There's you can get the paper outside, and inside there's not much going on. It's just an office with people busy writing stuff for the paper. It's nothing special, but I thought I'd take a look. And they have a little table where there are all kinds of brochures you can for local businesses. And then next door is a convenience store, so I thought I'd go inside. But I took the wrong door, and I wound up in a store for cannabis, or a dispensary. They have a whole collection of magazines, High Times, and they also have a collection of other paraphernalia there, and of the people use, I guess. Then I went to the convenience store. That's right next door, another glass store, looks just like it. And they have all kinds of stuff you might need in a pinch. They have chips and ice cream, and even German chocolate, Ritter. I thought that was nice. And cleaning products, so that's something you might need on the run, or little stuff for kids. And then I went to the grocery store, and now we are in the grocery store. And they have also books from the area, history books. They have some movies, and they have locally roasted coffee, which is nice. You can also take it for a gift, and then have a nice wine selection. It's a very nice store. You can also get a roasted chicken and balloons every which way. It's a very nice really like it there. They have home cooking, and there's so fresh fruits and vegetables and plants. It's like a farmer's market. And for bulk foods, they don't have any bulk foods, but there's candy in there. There's only candy in a bulk food. And these are the race market spices. They come in big buckets, and they're very good. I can highly recommend it. They come for a good price. And they have toys for your kids, and swim noodles, and swimming things for the summer. And this is my box for the chickens. There's a spoiled vegetables in there. Instead of throwing them out, they're selling it to the local farmer for their animals. And some people buy a whole bunch of boxes. I buy about 2 a week for our chickens, and they just love it. They get little snacks, some rotten lettuce, and good times. Yeah, so Ray's Market has history books for sale from the area, which are quite interesting. And there are also videos and magazines, and then you can go outside, and there you can pick up your Amazon orders. They have an Amazon locker there. And now we go over to the pharmacy, and here it is. And the reason I'm showing you these stores from the inside, when I first moved here, I didn't know where to buy what. I had no clue. Where would I go to get this or that? To run into every store, and maybe they have it and maybe they don't. So I'm showing you around a little bit. It will save you some footwork. As you can see, they have all kinds of interesting things for sale. A lot of gift items, and of course the pharmacy items, which is very nice. Yeah, my mom had to send me a kitchen knife from Germany because I had no idea where to buy such a thing in the United States. And also my undershirts, I had no idea where to buy those. It all changed, of course. Now we have all these stores that have just about everything, so which is very nice. And they also have guns and hunting equipment and fishing equipment, and funny yard signs. I'll show you some here. That's pretty cute. So yeah, here's the fishing. It's really good fishing here in the Rogue River. They also have plants and fertilizer and potting soil and pots. Of course, the hardware store has that also, but the pharmacy has. Let me show you the map here real quick. So we drove on Highway 99, which is this white line along the river. On the left, there were the vineyards, and then we came to that sign going to Rogue River. Let's see if we can drove all along here, and right there's that Mexican restaurant, and this big building is Best Western, and here's the Mexican restaurant. Here is the press. There's a convenience store, and then drove across the bridge and made a right. And here is a big shopping center. So this was Ray's Market and the pharmacy. That's where we went in. And then went back out on Main Street. Came back over the bridge. And here on the right hand side there is Fleming Park, which I'm going to show you here next. Okie dokie. I thought this was kind of an impressive map. This is where the vineyards are, and there's also a lavender farm I can show you. Anyway, we drove on 99 up here to Rogue River, and right here is that Mexican restaurant and the Press and Best Western. And then we went across the bridge, turned right, and right there is a Ray's Market, and then went back over the bridge, and then we went to Fleming Park, and that's what I'm going to show you next. We arrived at the Chamber of Commerce, and that is in the Fleming Park right next to the bridge, which has access to the Rogue River, and several picnic tables. It originally belonged to the Fleming family. They had a gas station there, but when their son died in Vietnam at the age of 22, they donated their property to the city of Rogue River for a war memorial for the Vietnam veterans. And that reminds me, there was a young man who saved my friend's life in Vietnam by throwing himself across my friend when he was in a line of fire, and the young man passed away and saved my friend's life. So he told me, next time you go to Missoula, would you please look up his name? So I did. I went to the War Memorial in Missoula. I placed my hand over his name, and at that time my little telephone in my pocket said beep, and I took that that it was, the message was received. I thought that was quite an experience, or something I'm not ever forgetting. Now on to the park, which is quite nice. It has little areas where you can access rivers through the brush of blackberries and such. And there are little places where you can have privacy and you can play with your dogs and kids in the water, which is quite nice. And there are doggy bags, and the dog has to be on the leash, but of course once they get in the water and you're hiding in the bush, then nobody will know that the dog is not on the leash. There are little places for your barbecue, and you know, people go there for lunch and just sit and relax. It's quite nice. There's also boat lounge, and also this area is quite famous for river crossings. So about the river crossing, at first people were just swimming across, hanging onto the tail of their horses, and for a long time Rogue River was called Tailhold. And then they built a little swinging bridge, which is quite raggedy-rickety, but so the wagons still had to go through the river, but at least people who wanted to walk had dry feet if they wanted to brave that little bridge. And but at first in 1851 there was a guy named Davis Evans, hence the Evans Creek we talked about in the previous video, along Palmerton Park. And his nickname was Coyote. He had a ferry service, and but it was short-lived. I think he overcharged, but still there were only 3 ferries crossing the Rogue River, and that's 200 miles long, mind you. But yeah, the guy was a little too greedy, so it didn't last very long. They built that a bigger bridge, I think in 1897, or that was a cable footbridge, and then in 1909 they put a steel truss bridge there, and also the railroad came to town, so things were starting to look up. And then in 1950 they built a steel bridge, and I think that washed out. In 1967 they had a humongous flood, and the bridge was too low and it washed down the river. And then they built a new one, and now it has sidewalks and a bike trail and a place where you can sit and look at the river. So things are looking up. And there's still a train going through town every once in a while. And then, of course, the freeway follows the river through the Cascade Mountains. And so that's on the other side of the river here from Fleming Park. Well, let's mosey on down into the park. So you can see there's a paved walkway, and that will get us to the restrooms. There they are. And there's also a drinking fountain for people. The dogs can drink from the river, I suppose. And that gets us down below the bridge, and that's where the boat lounge is. There's a boat being launched, just so we can see what that looks like. It's kind of nice under the bridge. It's quite sheltered if you run into a storm, but we don't hardly ever have any really bad weather. I lived on the coast, and that gets pretty rough over there, but here it's quite harmless. There are no really high winds that bother you, or rainstorms or snowstorms. It's just all kind of just quite harmless. If it rains, it just drizzles a little bit harder every once in a while, but it doesn't come down in sheets like it does in other places. You can see this is all quite solid. And there in that corner, that's where the horseshoe pit is. And when the horseshoe pit is underwater, that means it's high water. But the bridge is built 6 feet above the 100-year high water mark, which is quite nice. But I think they learned their lesson from the 1967 flood. Everything was underwater. And even came to town, so that was no fun, I'm sure. And there you can see there's also a fishing dock back there. It's fenced and hangs over the water. I'm zooming in a little bit, and we'll go over there and look at the river from there, and look at the boat that's trying to get out of the water. In case you wanted to know which Indian tribes were in the area, this land here used to belong to the Tutuni and the Shasta bands of Native Americans. But then in 1840, thousands of pioneers and fortune seekers streamed through this land with dreams of finding gold. Of course, I did find some around here. That just stands to reason. As you can see, the water is quite calm under the bridge, which is not the case the rest of Rogue River, which can get pretty wild and woolly. However, there is a dam upstream from Grants Pass, and that forms the Lost Creek Lake. And that is for flood control and water storage for irrigation. And then there are some other little multiple dams for diversion, for power generation. But some dams have been removed. The Gold Ray Dam, the Gold Hill Dam, and Savage Rapids Dam, they all have been removed, and they were along the main stem of the Rogue. So we have some good water flowing along there. Here's a drop for your fishing lines there under the bridge, right across from the fishing dock. And now we are heading out of the park along that nicely paved area. We'll go by the Chamber of Commerce again today, but they're closed. They're looking for volunteers to work there. Well, good luck with that, right? Okie dokie. I dare you. I'm a real estate broker here in Oregon, and call me, send me an email, visit my website, and I hope to hear from you very, very soon. So then, here you are. You made it through the whole video. Thank you very much. I'm proud of you. Usually people click away because it gets too boring. Anyway, not you. Good job. So don't forget, I wrote some books. It's how to sell a home and how to buy a home. Yeah, you can read those for free on my website. It's called Rogue River Real Estate. .com, and they're right there in the right margin, so you just click on it for the price of your email address, which will silently float to the bottom of my hard drive. You can read it there. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you subscribe to my channel. I'm planning to make some more videos. So thanks for watching. Bye.